so I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're up to next. So we've been talking about what we've been doing, what we have, and then I'm going to talk about what's coming around the corner. So the focus for 2018 is to really help companies accelerate their projects and build this foundation. So we've been talking about our Kinetic platform. We want companies to be able to build that up, no matter what stage they are in this digital transformation, whether they're just starting, you're scaling out some sort of process to large volume and doing great things with that, or if you want to use the software across the entire company for all processes. All of those areas have different concerns, and we're really working to do that. In addition, we're looking to improve our product, obviously, but community, the support, the training, et cetera, really to get you meeting your goals. So we're now talking about our system as a platform. And we've talked about Kinetic in the past as like Kinetic Request, Kinetic Task, Calendar Survey, all these different products. And what would happen is a company would come in and say, oh, we're interested in Kinetic Calendar. This is actual real story. We're interested in Kinetic Calendar. We want to schedule all these classes, and this is a real life story, in New York City for 5 different boroughs. And we want to be able to make it easy for people to schedule classes, announce what teachers will be teaching them, and then if there's changes, to update stuff. So they thought they just needed Kinetic Calendar, the ability to expose a calendar. But then I asked a couple quick questions, and that was, do you want to send somebody a reminder before the class? So it's one thing to schedule up, but do you want to send them a reminder? Do you want to have discussions about the class? And it very quickly came that they didn't really have their problem solved with Kinetic Calendar. They needed the task engine, they needed the forms engine, they needed a whole bunch of things. And that had happened over and over, where somebody would come to us and say, I want Kinetic Task, and we talked to them quite quickly, and it's like, well, they really want Request and Task. And so it always became, they would come for one, but we really needed a multiple set of things to solve the problem. So now what we're doing is we're talking about our product as a platform, and if somebody buys our software, they actually get every single product that we have already designed to work together and be able to get to the solutions a lot quicker. So instead of the confusion of buying this one and that one and the licensing, et cetera, they're all one thing. And if you're an enterprise customer, you get all the products, and they're pre-designed to work together. So that's really the big thing. We really have been working at this, and KEG really is kind of this pinnacle for me. We've been working for the last couple of years on this stuff, and it's done. And so now it's a whole new chapter for us to really get out and help customers adopt the software and bring it to new customers. But we've released what's called our Kinetic platform in version 2.1, and it has the data store, which we mentioned earlier, which is this very large scale permanent storage so we can be a system of record. We have these things called update webhooks, which really opens up a whole new avenue of workflow where you had a submission and then you change it, and we can just send off workflow just related to the changes. So that allows people from a security perspective to kind of nail down certain fields so that they won't be changed. Or if they do get changed, then new workflows can happen just because of those changes. And that was hard to do before. And then we've been doing this React framework for a while, but the system is now just inherent designed for single-page app support. Coming later this summer, we've been talking about microservices and Docker and those kinds of things. We're really internally re-architecting or changing some of our code so that we can have that microservices framework, so we can scale up and down a lot easier and make it easier for our customers to take advantage of these container environments. And so that's happening this summer. And then we're also adding in discussions. That's kind of been demoed a couple times today. If you remember, we used to have a product called Kinetic Response, and that was this whole discussions framework for having real-time conversations in a quick moment. What we've done in the world of KinOps is we've brought that product together and the CE product and integrated them. And that works just fine. But the ultimate solution is that real-time presence and all that is just built right into CE so that we can have all the other products have that real-time capability. So if you're viewing a calendar and somebody creates some sort of submission, a calendar entry could just instantly pop up with, this date is no longer available. Or if you're looking at a queue and you're looking at all the tickets that you need to work and somebody assigned one to themselves, it'll just automatically come off of your screen so you don't have to refresh. And just making it a little bit easier for people to work. But building in that presence and that real time into the system is something that we're doing. That's coming out this summer. Following that, and I'm just calling it 3.x, some of this stuff is internal, but really the multi-tenant everything. So as I've been talking about, the Kinetic platform is what's supporting KinOps, and that is designed to be multi-tenant. But we're doing a couple of fancy tricks for that. For some tenants, and they're using Calendar, we're spinning up a separate system for each tenant. So if we have 100 tenants, we're spinning up 100 containers. We can do a little bit better, and so we're changing some of these components to be multi-tenant. So it's just a different architecture thing, but it's a bit more efficient. It'll be faster, easier to maintain. So we're doing that. More work on the microservices, and then bringing in these other components like Calendar, Schedule, Bridge Hub, all to be native things. So when you're in the builder and you want a real rich calendar, you can just drag it in and you get all that workflow that you would expect and that visual interface that you would expect. So that's happening in the 3X, and that's planned for this year. Then the next set of work, and we've been prototyping this for a while, but, and I mentioned this earlier, that we'd like to say built low-code products before low-code really became a common topic, and we've been doing that, and we've watched how people build things. We've seen the strengths and the weaknesses, and we have next generation builders for our pages and our task engine, and we think that those will be a big deal, and they're a fair amount of work. So this groundwork needs to be done first, and then we're going to work on the next generation of our builders. Also, community. So when we first announced community, which was, 5-6 years ago, I sort of mentioned it as like the third leg of the stool. So we had our products, which were great, our consulting, which was great, and then community, which was also great. And it's an excellent way for people to get to know the Kinetic world. And it's still great. However, it really was sort of built almost reference material-like. You had to be kind of dedicated to the Kinetic world, go through training, et cetera, and then community was quite helpful for you. Well, we want to change community to be something that somebody brand new to the Kinetic world could go to community and kind of get walked through and guided through how to be a beginner, how to do some admin stuff, and grow from there. And so really kind of rebuilding the community site so that a more novice person who hasn't gone through training can take advantage of that. And we think obviously that'll help new customers, but really it also help this citizens developer type person who might be in your organizations and you're expanding the Kinetic use across your own organization. They'll be able to go into community and make real good benefit out of that. So it's to help everybody kind of expand. So that's quite frankly, I'll say a redo. And we'll use the existing stuff, but we got to fill in for that new user type. Same thing with training. If I look at our trainings today, the trainings typically are, okay, I'm going to be a developer, and we kind of give this developer level training, and that's almost the beginning of the training world. Well, there's a few steps that need to happen, especially in the KinOps world, and especially in these solutions that we're talking about, is there's a whole new set of stuff that needs to be learned. It's super easy to learn, but it's kind of like you need to learn this first, then this, then the concept of development makes sense. So we're coming up with new trainings, and we're just kind of coming up with these levels. The 100 level is, how can I even be a user? Just real basic overviews about what is a service portal, what is queue, what is data store, and that level of stuff, which we haven't really trained on before. We think all those trainings could be half an hour on video, but they need to exist. And then you go through all of those, and then the developer, as we know today, makes sense. And then we, as you guys have heard, our customers really take our stuff to the next level. So we are talking about having advanced development, advanced administration, more officially as a course. And every single one of these courses is intended to be on the web, that you can do it yourself. If you're the type of person that can roll up your sleeves and absorb that kind of stuff, it will be there. We'll provide the classes and you can attend the classes, but we want to have this training out there complete and not have to attend a class. So it'll be making them all web accessible and then breaking them out so there's a lot more trainings and there's kind of a path to go through. And then kind of the last level is this architecture/service providers. We do have a handful of customers that just use this stuff in just absolutely massive ways, and they're just different challenges that they have, and so we'll create that level training. And it's roughly the equivalent of, you want to run your own KinOps, this is what it would take. So that's what that's about. The other thing with the training that we're doing is kind of walking through more of a scenario. So right now, it feels to me like the training we do is, like if you were to take a look at Microsoft Excel, it's like, here's the file menu, and here's how you open, and here's how you close, and here's how you save, and you know, edit, and here's how you build a formula. But it's not exactly why do you build a spreadsheet, how do you connect spreadsheets, when would you want to break out spreadsheets, and all that kind of thing. So changing the training, and it starts this week, with more of a scenario base, which is walking you through, I'm a new customer, I own the Kinetic system, how do I get involved, and walking you through these scenarios. And I think it'll connect a lot better for people to understand the system. So just changing the style of training to be more scenario-based than kind of reference material, I think will be helpful. The other thing, and I got this last bullet here, we're doing this week, and we've been doing this for the last maybe year or so, is when we have a training, say it's a 2-day training, we've been taking the 2-day training, and the Kinetic stuff has been getting easier to train. So it seems as if the 2-day training, we can kind of get the traditional stuff done in 1 day. So we're making it 1 day of traditional style training, but then that second day is to take what you've learned on the first day and do it. And so that's what we're doing this week too. So we've got the first 2 days, our typical trainings, and then the third day is you use what you learned the first 2 days on your actual project. And what I've heard a lot of times in the past about training is, I sent Mike to training for a week, and everything stopped for a week. And then Mike came back, and Mike swamped, and then blah, blah, blah. Well, it should be in the future that if Mike goes to a Kinetic training, Mike went to Kinetic training, and he got 3 times as much done as he normally does. So it's because they're working on their stuff in the training program, and that's a change that we're making, and I think that that'll be a great thing. And we were talking about this over the break, and part of the reason is Mike's not getting bugged by all the coworkers. But getting your own stuff worked on in the training program is the goal, and we'll be doing that as the last day of the trainings. Services. So we mentioned this a handful of times, but when we originally started off in the Kinetic world, it was about putting beautiful front ends on existing complex back ends. And it was this complex back end was kind of the core of a company thing, and the Kinetic was, oh, that's really nice looking, et cetera, but the back end is really being run by some other system, and that was the core focus of the company. Well, the last handful of years, it has really migrated that Kinetic really is the core engine of a lot of people's businesses now. And our support model and services were not really aligned for that. We were aligned for doing like product type support. We would answer your questions on how to do this feature and that kind of thing. But our brain was product level support. Well, just based on these changes, we need to adapt our support thinking and our services thinking to be more supportive of business functions. And so we're coming up with different services models to support that. And some ideas are dedicated support personnel. And we're doing this with a handful of companies now. But the idea is that when you have an issue, you're probably a pretty mature company, and you want to go straight to talking to somebody who knows your system. Where if you call our typical help organization, they know our products great, but they don't know your implementation. So being able to call directly into somebody who's already aware of how your system works, possibly already has accounts on your system so they can get in and helpful right away, is the goal. Also, just set up some periodic meetings so we can stay fresh on your environment, do on-site visits, meet your people, get that comfort level going. It also lets us kind of know where you guys want to go and strengthens that relationship. Also, these concepts called health checks so that we can possibly find issues or just validate some things like your backups truly are working. Those types of things, all as part of this service, and just let companies feel a lot better about running their world on the Kinetic platform. In addition, because of our platform change and the fact that we can stand things up real easily and focus them in different ways, we have some partnership opportunities that are now available that were not when we were, different architectures. And so 2 of them that have come up in the this last year. Nagios, if anybody's familiar with that, it's an enterprise monitoring system. So if you're using things like Comcast and Time Warner and AT&T, all these things, they're probably being managed by Nagios. And Nagios is a great system for finding issues. It's a monitoring system at an enterprise level. It finds stuff. Kinetic owns problems. It seems like a good fit. So we're going to be working together with the Nagios organization to produce solutions for their customers and help our customers to get a better monitoring solution. So we're working with them. And then also another one, OnSolve, which is this enterprise level alerting for business and government. So examples would be you're flying Southwest or something like that, and your gate changes from A12 to A13. It's probably OnSolve that sends you that text message that says your gate has changed. So OnSolve is a very large alerting system. Another thing, the whole active shooter, this is something that they're involved in, and they get large contracts. They're interested in working with Kinetic because we've got this task engine, this capability to automate and connect all these dots. And so we're working with them to build capabilities for this infrastructure monitoring and identification of data changing, and then when that happens, we send it to OnSolve, and OnSolve sends 10,000 messages. And so that's one that we're also working with. And these are all things based on the fact that our architecture has changed, that we're API-driven, we're very flexible as a company, and we want to do these things. So those are some new things for us. The last is we're now coming up with solutions. And traditionally, we've been building this Kinetic platform, and we bring that to companies and we say, what would you like to do with our platform? We sit down and we talk about the different things that you could do, and we come up with solutions that work for that, and that's perfectly fine. We've done hundreds of these things to the point where we've seen patterns in what people want to do, and it's typically, I'll call it the last mile, roughly, that is different from company to company to company. So we are pre-building solutions on our platform that's like this on-ramp to get things up and running very quickly, and then you can change them the last mile or whatever, and they're like a set of templates for you to get going real quickly. And so goal is to just get there faster, more robust, et cetera. So we're starting off with these 3 solutions, and the service portal is obviously one. Onboarding, which is very common, and so the idea is that you can onboard anything. It's very common that people are onboarding employees, but you can onboard vendors, partners, assets, and just have that whole world managed. And it's just a preset strategy for doing this. Every single customer will take that and say, this is how it needs to change for us, but it's built for that, so that you can use this as a template. And then this last one, event management. Something happened within our company. It might be customer got hurt using a product. This process needs to happen. All kinds of different events can happen, and being able to own that event and have confidence that it's being resolved is that space. Then next on the docket, and we think that these will be done by the end of this year, is this tech bar idea. We've had quite a few customers either do proof of concepts on this or actually build it out. But if you've ever gone to the Apple Genius Bar, you can just walk up and get your iPhone worked on or your Apple computer. Companies are doing this too. So they've got internal spots where you can bring your computer, get it fixed while you get a coffee. And it's about scheduling it, it's about what services are available, and just making that an easy thing for our customers to do. So we'll be building that out. We also have quite a bit of this inbound customer support. I think Jeff sort of showed that or a style of that with the whole chat, but being able to gather some of that data for external people and then routing it internally. And then I say an ITSM Lite, and if you were to ask me this, I'm totally surprised, but we get company after company that tells us or asks us, hey, we've got blah, blah, blah product. It's got 505 features. It turns out we only use 12. Can we do some sort of simplified incident management or simplified change management in the Kinetic world? We've always sort of shied away from that, but we've been asked so many times that we actually are going to produce a light version, and it's the opposite direction of all the other vendors which are chasing all these features. We're going to go the opposite direction and do the least features really required to do an incident or a change, with the idea that that's actually what's really needed. So we'll see where that goes, but we're going to build that out. So our goal really is to be the fastest, easiest, and most powerful system for any of the projects that we typically see that require scale, complexity, compliance, or you just want to be proud and have it be a beautiful system. So that's what we're looking for. Thanks.